Right, yeah.
It's a little ironic that today the program who has the longest record for most consecutive 9-win seasons is up against it today against the program who set the record for the most consecutive losses in the history of major college football. Ironic in that today the team with the losing history has a chance to really drive a nail, maybe the first nail in the coffin of the Matt Rule era, because there's been a lot of discontent this week, Michael Severe, a lot of discontent around here.
You're starting negative,
about,
kid. Wow.
Well, you gotta set the scene.
Out of the box.
You gotta
negative.
set the scene.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's not good. It wasn't good last week.
No.
Last Friday was an abject failure on every single front. However, Matt Rule says that kind of effort is not going to happen again. In fact, he guarantees it. Matt Rule basically sitting on the beach chair next to a young Brent Musburger along the pool in Miami Beach saying, I guarantee it. Now, he didn't say guarantee a win,
did not say it.
but he guaranteed that they were going to play better and show good effort. The problem with that is not that Nebraska is incapable of doing that. The problem is the team they play today, I liken them to alligators. Alligators don't jump out of the water and kill their prey on land. Alligators jump out of the water, grab their prey, drag them back into the water, go into the death roll, and drown their opponent. And that's kind of what Northwestern does when they win games. It's easy to get away from an alligator. You just zigzag, you run away. You're fine.
Have you ever run from an alligator?
No.
Okay, don't say it's easy.
Well, all you have to do is run in 90-degree angles. Their vision's not very good.
They're quick as all get out.
They are quick, but they can't move laterally. They're like Dan Alexander, who, by the way, will be featured later on today at 1620 pregame.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
But Michael, it has been a week of discontent. It's just
audio didn't go over there.
Oh, it didn't. Well,
no.
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
It was the guarantee. It was a Denzel Washington. Picture every Denzel Washington movie ever.
Yeah.
I guarantee he guaranteed it. That's all.
He did. He guaranteed good effort.
Play better.
Good effort today. But
I will be the learner in this, PBS show and say it was one bad week. They went against a team that, whatever reason, owns them in a place that is their kryptonite. They played against a team that wasn't really good. I still not very good. I know that because they're 8.5-point underdogs at Iowa today, so they're still not very good. Nebraska just played a poor game. They were poorly coached. They had some coaching malfeasance. It's one game. You're going to go against a Northwestern team that, for the most part, is pretty inept offensively, does a bunch of things that you can stop. They run inside zone. They run gap. Nebraska stops that. This is a game that Nebraska is the most likely going to win. Calm down. Chill out. Look ahead to blackout week next week.
Wow. All right. Michael Severe already putting a kibosh on the rest of today's pregame because all we were going to do was just focus on the negative. That's all we were going to do today. But now it's over. All right. 1620, the pregame has been brought to you by Chandler Conway.
There's the buses. Listen, I know it because if you look at the EPA expected stuff from what Wisconsin was supposed to do and had done all year, Minnesota had done all year, and you look what they did against Nebraska, this is an anomaly. It's an anomaly that they ran the ball the way they did against Nebraska. They hadn't done it all year. It's an anomaly the way that they were efficient offensively, because they hadn't been efficient offensively all year.
Right.
Matter of fact, they were a negative EPA per rush against everybody until they hit Nebraska. And then all of a sudden they were a positive EPA. They were a negative EPA per play against everybody until they hit Nebraska. It was an anomaly week. Relax. Nebraska's not going to play that poorly again. They're going to go against a very good defensive team. Don't get me wrong, but I think their offense is too potent. They're going to get their points. It'll go under, but they'll win the game.
They're too potent. They're also too prone to giving up sacks. They are 3 sacks allowed away from beating what they gave up last year in Big Ten play. They're averaging over 5 sacks a game allowed in Big Ten play. Last year, that number was in the high twos, like 2.8, 2.9, which was a 10-year high in conference games. So you're right. When Dylan's got time, when the plays are being called, when the runs are happening, this is a potent offense. The problem is, to kind of quote Matt Rule from last year, we saw the elements of the loss to Illinois in the game against Northern Iowa the week before. We saw elements of the loss to Minnesota in the games, even the wins that happened against Michigan State and Maryland before. And I think that's where some of the discontent is coming from, is it feels like the same old song and dance because you're not learning necessarily from your mistakes.
You made a point before we went on air that we were talking about how many teams can get in the college ball playoff, and you threw the team Illinois out, right?
Yes.
I don't
necessarily, because they could go 10-2.
I don't like them today.
Right.
Okay. This shows you how important sacks may be or may not be. The number 2 most sacks given up in the Big Ten is Illinois. And you talked about them going to the college football playoff, right? It's about having an offense that can overcome it. And the majority of the time before last week, Nebraska overcame that. I think, again, against a team that's not a very good pass rush team, you got 2 guys you really got to worry about. I think Nebraska will overcome the issues they have both with play calling, run blocking, and the quarterback who, for whatever reason, doesn't get rid of the ball fast enough.
Wasn't Minnesota not a great pass rush team?
Well, they were up until 2 weeks before. So they were the 3rd best pass rush team before they played the 2 games before Nebraska where they had 0 sacks. But before that, they were 2nd in the Big Ten behind USC in sacks. So they took a couple weeks off. They hit Nebraska, and Nebraska had a poor game plan. John, it's going to be my keys, but when you don't prepare well, I don't care what it's for. A show like this, you're cooking in the kitchen, you don't cut your seasonings ahead of time. If you don't prepare well, you are going to be a piss-poor performance team.
Yep.
They didn't prepare well. They underestimated who they were playing. Why? I have no idea. They've literally owned you. It would be like Van Helsing not preparing for Dracula, even though he knows what Dracula's going to do to him. It's ridiculous. And so we've got a situation here where they understand what they did wrong. When you're head coach, there is nothing in college football like your head coach calling you out as a coach and a coordinator.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often. And it happened this week. Hogerson, who tends to occasionally get a little, and I hate using the word lazy, but it's the only word I can put, a little lazy in his play calling. And a guy in Butler who admitted he made a mistake. He admitted it. I understand why he did it. He panicked because he's like, oh, my God, here we go, outside zone again, 71-yard run by a team that hadn't had any long runs. I understand it. But he admitted it. I don't think it'll happen again. Again, man, they're at home. They're going to come out and play well. They're going to get the ball to my good friend, the big giant dinosaur, and they are going to make plays today.
We're going to try again here with
the audio?
No. Yes, we're going to try again here with the audio. So, Jake, back at our studio, let me know if this is coming through or not. I've changed the input, but this was what Matt's kind of leaning into Michael's point about bad performance. It may have come from bad attitude.
They have every opportunity to come back this week. So to kind of go Mitch's point, I'm not mad at the guys. I'm mad at myself and the coaches. You know what I mean? I blame us. So, and when I say I told them, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you tell them if they don't listen. Right? I couldn't convince the coaching staff what that game was going to be like. I knew what PJ Fleck and Minnesota would be like on a Friday night, and I couldn't convince the team. So now they know. But that's not me saying I told them they didn't do it. It's me saying I didn't get it done. I'm saying, like, that's my job. Like, that's my job is to get the team ready to play, and they were not ready for that battle, especially in the second half.
I've been listening to Nebraska coaches for over 40 years. I've been cutting the tape for like 35 years. I have never, ever heard a head coach say, I had to convince some of my coaches that Minnesota was worthy of our respect and that we needed to prepare for them. I've heard it about players. I've heard about players maybe underestimating a little bit. Sometimes, the coach says it. Sometimes the players just admit it outright. But to say it was the coaches that was kind of leading the charge is unprecedented. I've not heard that before.
The tape was so bad, John. I can't explain to people after watching Minnesota win 26-7, and for the most part, absolutely, push them around mid-third quarter on. I can't express to you how poorly this team played prior to – I know they were 4-2, but how poorly they played prior to playing Nebraska. And so there is no way you should watch the game as a Nebraska coach or a player and then underestimate your opponent. I understand that completely. But, John, they were really bad.
They were 4-2.
That's what I said to you. They were 4-2. But if you look at the schedule and who they played and the way they played and how they got pushed around at the line of scrimmage by Purdue, who then turned around and lost 19-0 to Northwestern, I mean, it just didn't make any sense. Cal pushed them around. I watched Cal last night get pushed around. It's just they weren't very good. And I think there is times, and it should never happen. Remember, in a way, this is still a young coaching staff. Butler's only been now a coordinator outside of those 2 really weird years at Penn State. He's only been a coordinator for his 3rd year. First year in the Big Ten in this era, right? You got a defensive line coach who is new to the job. I think overall, your defensive back, a bunch of guys are kind of still really young. And maybe because of that, they leaned into their youngness. I can tell you right now, the defensive line coach is not going to have the attitude this week that he had last week. I guarantee you he will not have the same attitude he had last week this week. Guarantee that one. That one I know for a fact because he is in trouble.
The idea, because I kept going back to this in my head this week. Last year, Nebraska's worst performance, albeit against a really good team, was against Indiana. The following week, Nebraska went to Columbus, Ohio, maybe put together its best performance of the year, albeit in a loss, but it was Ohio State. And for Ohio State, mentally, you're always checked in for Ohio State. If you have any pulse whatsoever, you're always checked in for Ohio State.
And Ohio State was not checked in for Nebraska.
Correct.
And dealing with offensive line problems and looking ahead to the next week.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thought I had in my head was, I wonder if this game and next week's game had been flipped and it was USC coming to town. Because USC, it's USC. Everyone knows who USC is.
It's a logo.
It's a logo, but they're also a borderline top 25 team. And the thought being, well, that'll get Nebraska's attention.
Yeah.
But based on what you are saying here this morning already, it's possible that last week could have happened this week if Nebraska had won last week. In other words, it's easy to always overlook Northwestern.
Right.
It's easy to always look over them. So in a weird way, it might be a good thing that this game comes this week because normally this is the look-ahead spot. There's going to be a lot of excitement here next week. It's going to be a night game. They're going to do the black jerseys, the blackout, all that stuff. It's going to be USC.
Yeah.
But getting the team's attention this week had to be one of the easiest things Matt Rule has had to do here since he arrived.
Getting the team's attention, the coaching staff's attention, the training table's attention, those guys who wear the yellow coats who occasionally get drunk with power. He's got the attention of everyone on campus. Trust me, everybody that's involved in football, Dr. Susan Eliza is more focused this week. Everybody understands that they understood it on Friday night when they left. They really understood it on Sunday. And then the rest of the week they understood it. Tom Osborne, I know people hate when you go back, but one of the wisest things Tom Osborne ever talks about, and still will if you sit down and talk to him, it's not about Friday night or Saturday. It's about Monday through Thursday. You win the game Monday through Thursday. And if on Tuesday your coordinator or your line coach or your defensive backs coach is sitting there saying to themselves, oh, these guys aren't very good. I mean, really, if we go out there and play our game, we should beat them pretty easily. If that conversation is happening on Tuesday and Wednesday, you're probably going to play like you played on Saturday. So I think everything is focused this week. I will be really I was not surprised they lost last week. Why? Because I picked them to lose before the season. That was my game. The first game they were going to lose.
But that was based on the travel.
It was based on travel and because that place is a hall of horrors.
Yeah.
I've been there now 4 times.
Never seen them win?
Never seen them win. 2015 was the last time they won there.
Yeah. So maybe the problem's you.
It could be why. Like I told you, I haven't been to a true road win since 2017. So I understand that.
Yeah.
I completely understand that. But it's not just that. PJ Fleck, for whatever reason, because it's not Iowa, it's not Wisconsin. He's not playing for like one of their 100-year-old trophies. But you know what he's playing for? I like to beat Nebraska. I take joy. You've not seen a man happier who hadn't won the lottery than PJ Fleck was in the post-game press conference. That dude went for like 30 minutes. He came out speaking freaking Latin. Okay? He was speaking Latin. I believe it was Latin. I don't know what language he was speaking. He had some sort of language he was saying. But anyway, it sounded like Latin to me from when I used to go to church.
Let's row the boat in Latin.
Yeah. Well, he didn't say. It was something about like victory to the strong or something in a different language.
Okay.
Anyway,
all right.
He came out and he talked about, Steph Curry and free throws and preparing and extra practice for tackling. Everything he told them that week came to fruition on Friday night. Everything he told them. And for whatever reason, that guy, whether he's a hypnotist or what, every time he does that, it works, and so they believe him. And so for Nebraska to go against a guy who hates you and wants to beat you, no matter how nice he talks about you, because remember during the Big Ten media days, how much he talked up Nebraska.
Right.
No matter what he says, he wants to beat you badly, and you can't win up there. So I don't understand how they let themselves happen to them, but they did.
Well, Michael's destroyed my warm-up today, presented by Chandler Conway, personal injury lawyers.
We should have a pregame, so we should talk about stuff before.
We should. Well, we probably should.
We should talk.
A turbulent week for all the wrong reasons. Where will the Huskers' minds be this week? How do they match up? Does it matter? Of course it does. We're going to talk about the O-line, the pass pro, and the family Raiola question, because all of that is intertwined.
Yes. My favorite line from Sunday morning Severe Reaction, which I got more than 5 times. The Raiola family is holding Nebraska hostage. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're holding us hostage. They're forcing us to play their 5-star quarterback. And they're forcing us to take their undefeated top 10 ranked brother of the 5-star quarterback. And they're forcing us to have the offensive line coach who last year played. Coach, I don't.
Our Husker history mystery, we're going to go back 25 years as Nebraska salts away a mouthy Northwestern team.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, it is a college football Saturday, and Nebraska Northwestern's part of the early slate today.
Yeah.
Here on a very cloudy day. This is Michael Severe weather, ladies and gentlemen.
Weather.
This is Michael Severe weather.
It feels probably like about 5 degrees cooler.
They say it's going to be in the low 50s today.
Yes.
Light winds,
Yes.
but these overcast skies are going to stick around. There might be a chance for some sprinkles in the game, but the better rain chances come after the game. So it's going to look like this. It's going to feel like what it is right now here at the Blur Event Tailgate all afternoon.
Glad it looks like this. It's like this. Because my mom's going to my 89-year-old mother is going to her first Husker game this week.
Nice.
And this is what it should be like. She should feel football weather. She should experience what it's like to go to the old gray lady when it's actually gray.
It's gray.
So, yeah, I'm excited about this.
Participating sponsors of 1620, the pregame, or the Sedora Law Group. Your outcome depends on what you do next. And by Blur Party, see how Blur makes every moment a party at blurevents.com. So there is the rundown. The folks, it is a heavy carb breakfast today. They had the biscuits and gravy. They had the cinnamon rolls, delicious as always. But it's predictably, and I'm not saying this because of the opponent or the week that it's been, but it is late October, and it's an early kickoff. It's a lighter feeling crowd today.
It was great driving in today.
It was a piece of cake getting in from South Lincoln today.
Yeah.
So it may be a later arriving crowd. It will be very interesting to hear the atmosphere in the stadium, as you heard you didn't hear in the opening clip, but Matt Rule basically said, hey, if we're diving at people's feet and if we're not showing the effort that we're supposed to, I'd boo us too.
Right.
I've never heard a coach invite the fans to boo, but here we are. Be very interesting to see what happens, especially early in the game. If Nebraska takes a negative play, takes a sack, especially if we hear the murmurs go. Normally in this stadium, it goes from excitement to murmur to boo.
You want to hear a boo? A boo happens if they throw the ball on first down. First play of the game. If they throw the ball.
Is that your bold prediction?
And it's incomplete, or there's pressure, or he's sacked on the first play of the game, oh, my God. The boos will come roaring out of the stadium. Because I was booing from the press box when they ran the first 3 plays of the game in Minneapolis. Goodness gracious, what a horrible game plan.
All right, we will be back. We're going to take a look at when Nebraska has the football today. When we come back, as we break down these matchups, we'll also have our keys. It was a bad week for us a couple weeks ago. in the picks to click, I don't think either of us hit a click against Michigan State. We'll review that.
Okay.
But I don't know if either of us hit a pick to click a couple weeks ago against Sparty. 1620, the pregame presented by Chandler Conway, Nebraska personal injury lawyers you can trust. If you have been injured in an accident or insulted by a coworker or someone you used to call a friend, people like Michael Severe should contact chandlerconway.com and Blur Parties.
Damn you, Nick Grimm.
Learn more about all their events and future tailgates at blurevents.com. Bish and the Brownie continues after this on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
$16.20 The Zone and 1019 The Keg are live from Lincoln. Now back to 1620 The Pregame.
Yeah, I trust Hayden with my life. We got to get the quarterback to get the ball out. And I'm not saying he's holding the ball. I'm saying we give him plays where we were covered a lot of times in the game. Like they matched our routes and there was like nowhere to go with the ball. So like that's why like it's I'm in no way defending anyone. I'm just trying to make sure our team here is like it was everything. I think the biggest thing is, hey, what can we do? Not, hey, this play's really good versus this coverage versus the guy. Like, what can we do? And let's do that. And get Pritchett back. That'll help. Rocco playing will help. No disrespect to the guys that went in. Those guys. Obviously, your starter for a reason. So losing 2 starters was tough. But then I think to Sean's point, I'd like to see us run the football a little bit more because, Emmett's playing really well.
That was Matt Rule on Monday being asked about Dana and how the game was called and what Nebraska needs to do better this week, which is a perfect launching point for the matchup today. When Nebraska has the football, and we've already established the play calling was a bit questionable. Honestly, they could have just literally faxed and copied the Maryland game plan and played it again against Minnesota, and they would have been in a lot better shape.
Yeah.
You mentioned the first drive. I thought one of the critical moments was after the 98-yard drive and the next drive Nebraska had after your defense had been on the field for 9 minutes and they had to burn a timeout just to give them a breather was pass, 3 and out, punting back to Minnesota. It almost felt like Dana thought, oh, we're going to get ours down the field because Minnesota's down a couple of defensive backs.
Yes.
We don't think they rush the passer particularly well, and so that's what we're going to do, and it completely backfired.
And by that point, they already had 5 sacks, right?
Correct.
So the drive before the 98-play drive, 98-yard drive, it felt like 98 plays, and the drive after, yours is critical. The one before is the one I say turned the whole game because Nebraska comes out. They actually do kind of establish Emmett Johnson.
Yeah.
He had both a nice carry for over 10 yards, and he had a screen for over 10 yards. And then the play they've been waiting to get was Dane Key isolated on the backup corner, safety cheating in the middle because he had to worry about what's happening with the run game, and he gets by him, and he's wide open. And again, whatever reason, Raiola over 14 yards, hasn't been accurate. He misses again.
Yeah.
You score right there. It's 13-7. All the momentum's back on your side, and they're going to start – their play calling is going to change.
Yeah.
Because they're all of a sudden down by 6.
Yep.
And because of that miss and having to give the ball back to them, even if it was a 2-yard line, you took away the chance you had to just grab all of that momentum. And I'm getting tired of whatever the reason is why he can't make throws downfield, but he's got to fix that. Whether it's his feet, his arm slot, I don't know, but that's got to get – it can't be this bad. He cannot miss those throws. Those throws are gimmies.
Yeah.
For a guy who has been working with a quarterback coach, and since he was like probably 5 years old, he needs to be able to make those throws.
So when we look at this matchup today and we flashing up, if you're watching along, by the way, you can always watch along with 1620 The Pregame on ZoneTV.live and our YouTube channel. Also, we stream on Twitter X. But when you look at this matchup, it's a heck of a lot more even. We've been seeing a lot of, when we use these color-coded charts, we see a lot more red on the opponent's defensive side versus Nebraska being in blue means it's good. But if you look at EPA against the rush, EPA per drop back, and quality drive rate, it's a dead even battle in terms of where these teams are ranked. And I think probably the most impressive thing is that Northwestern is the epitome of bend but don't break.
Yes.
They allow some quality drives, but they stop them. They don't allow points. Northwestern allows only 2.5 points per quality drive. And basically the quality drive means you're gaining a first down inside. I believe they've now adjusted it to like the opponent's 37-yard line, basically getting into scoring position. Yeah. But they are yielding only 2.5 points per quality drive. So if Nebraska does get into the scoring zone, that's when things get really, really tough. That's why I think today, Michael, not to get away from moving the football, but I think today could be a good day for Kyle Kunanen because I think Nebraska can get in the scoring zone, but you don't have to necessarily take a ton of chances if you're getting third and longs or fourth. You know, the idea of going for it on 4th and 3 or more, you might mitigate that a bit. A, because I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, and B, you got a good field goal kicker. And you look at these numbers. I mean, it's tough to score on Northwestern in the scoring zone.
Who picks first this week in the Picks the Click? Because I was thinking my first pick was going to be Kunanen. That's who I was thinking this week. So you go back what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Nebraska is 105th in red zone touchdown efficiency.
Yeah.
Like you said, they have not been – it's mainly because of 5 drives. 5 times, not only did they get inside the red zone, 5 times they've gotten inside the 10-yard line and came away with 0 points. So that really hurts them in touchdown efficiency. I agree with you. So I go with just Big Ten numbers. I've moved on from – I've taken all the non-conference out there.
Yeah.
Nebraska is allowing 28 points, their defense, in conference play. Northwestern's giving up 17.3. This is the best defense I honestly believe you're going to play all year unless a bowl game is a better team. We mentioned the sacks. Here's the interesting thing about them in Big Ten play. Their havoc has even gotten worse in Big Ten play. And if you look at them overall, 110th in my rankings, overall in terms of the havoc, when you're just counting up simply tackles for loss, pressures, and all of that.
Deflections.
They have been getting dominated. 66 for the opponents, 50 for them. That's a domination. Because really, normally it's only about 2 or 3 difference each game from your opponent to you.
Sure.
So I think in the Big Ten play, their defense has been really good, right? Really good. But they allow players, especially with speed, to get some big plays. This is one of the fastest teams they're going to go against. I know we didn't see it last week. This is a fast team. Emmett Johnson has short area quickness. Dane Key, Barney, Hunter. Go to the bench, bring more in. They probably got a tight end that's faster than most tight ends they're facing in the Big Ten. So as good as they've been all year, if you just go Big Ten-wise, I think Nebraska's got a shot to be able to get some explosive plays against them.
1620, the pregame is presented by Chandler Conway, Nebraska personal injury lawyers you can trust and Blur Parties. Learn more about all their events and future tailgates at blurevents.com. A couple of other interesting things as we look at this side of the matchup.
Yeah.
That continuing advantage that Nebraska has in field position.
Oh, yeah.
They are fifth in starting offensive field position, while Northwestern defensively is in the 90s. So Nebraska theoretically should get the ball in good position to have short fields to get into that quality drive rate zone. Also, third and fourth down success. Northwestern hasn't, again, leans to the bend but don't break. They don't get off the field particularly well. They allow 42% conversion rate on third and fourth downs. Nebraska wasn't as good as they have been this year last week against Minnesota, but if you can convert some of those, I think you're going to be in pretty good shape.
And Nebraska struggled, again, just Big Ten play. Going into Big Ten play and through the first couple games of Big Ten play, their net points per drive was +7. So plus 0.70, which is really good. I mean, that's pretty good for a team like Nebraska who had their struggles with certain quarters early on in the season. Just in Big Ten, though, they're minus 0.11. So they have gotten that much poorer over these last three games in terms of net point differential. I would love to see them again get to the red zone and not necessarily throw that fade, but run the ball in the red zone. The amount of runs they've had in the red zone is kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, it's low.
It really is embarrassing, and you have to be able to do that, even if it's Dylan just taking off for 5 yards to get you. Because last week, they get in the red zone. What do? They run Emmett first. Emmett gains 4 yards. Now you're 2nd and 6. Man,
that's a good spot.
The world is open to you. Well, they throw the fade. Dylan misses the fade. So now 3rd and 6, the world is no longer open to you. They can't convert. They run the ball again. I know. Run the ball guy. You run the ball a second time and say you're at 3rd and 2. Now, again, the world's open to you again. They have to figure out why we need to run the ball, where we need to run the ball, and how we run the ball. That's an important part of this.
And I know we're going to keep hammering the sacks.
Sacks.
Northwestern has only had 11 sacks this year, but their top 4 sackers are all defensive linemen.
They are.
So it's not necessarily outside rush ends or outside linebackers or defensive backs. It's the line led by Saka, but also Kilbane, who is their leading tackle for loss guy.
You notice Saka doesn't have any tackles other than tackles for loss or sacks?
Yeah. Kilbane has been their leading TFL guy, along with Max Uline, who is one of their veteran linebackers. When you look at their personnel, who do you like most?
Bastone is the key to this defense. Big
defensive lineman,
Italian nose tackle, defensive tackle that just eats up people. Tell me if you heard this before, because throughout the history of playing Northwestern since 2011, they always have this guy.
Yes, they do.
Like Dean Lowry.
Dean Lowry's the best example.
Right? So they have this guy. And he doesn't have huge numbers, but he takes up 2 guys. He forces you to be able to defend him. He will make it hard on you. He's only going to play on 1st and 2nd down for the most part, but he's the key to him. If you block him, I think you can handle their defensive line, but he is really hard to block. Tough kid. He's a plugger in the middle. You mentioned the other names of the guys who you got to worry about. I think they're defensive backs too. I like how the defensive backs come up and make plays and make tackles. But like I said, that opens it up for some explosive plays downfield. If you get the run game going, those safeties are coming down. Turner's the one that I noticed the most. He's number 9. He's always coming down in the box, always in the box. I'd love to see him. You hit him with a double move, coming off of a run fake, and go over the top with him.
What are their coverages like in the back end?
So they are straight across the board. So they are a cover 4 team or 2 high with their corners, not in man-to-man, and they just keep the ball in front of them for the most part. But you will see so many of those guys, both the 2 guys I said, Turner and then also Fitzgerald. Those are guys that come down the pipe. They will cheat. So as much as they're trying to keep guys in front of you, they take a lot of chances too. The thing I thought was interesting about them when I compare what Nebraska does is Nebraska has done a really good job, and Dylan has too, at least within 14 yards line of scrimmage, throwing the ball outside the numbers. You can execute there. I've watched a couple different teams execute there. They're really good in the middle of the field. They're excellent. It's because of the safeties. It's because their linebackers take a good job. They're really good at that situation. So this is a time where Raiola needs to throw those passes to the sideline and be accurate with them, which he has been.
Yeah.
And I think you can kind of just matriculate your way down the field.
What is the ability of Nebraska to have some quick game in the passing game today?
Yeah.
Things that I've wondered where it's been. Jack Mitchell and I actually went back. We watched some of the Cincinnati game yesterday, and some of those early drives, Nebraska, and Cincinnati plays that 3 deep, so they were allowing everything underneath. Yeah. They had some quick game. Yeah. Receivers getting open real quick out of the slot, especially. Boom, hit them, go down the field. But where are the opportunities to get the ball out of his hand quickly?
Okay, so I believe in automatic. I'm going to go all the way back to my high school time, right?
Yeah.
So we had something called Kool-Aid, right? So Kool-Aid is simply if you look outside and either one of your wide receivers, the guy is 10 yards off him, right? You're checking the Kool-Aid, and you're throwing smoke. You throw a smoke. Now, they threw it one time last week, and listen, the guy made a great tackle for like a 1-yard gain.
Against Barney, right?
It was against – no, that was actually the Y stick.
Okay.
This actually was against it was Emmett Johnson.
Okay.
It was Emmett Johnson. And so if you see the guy playing off, whether it's a linebacker who's going to be in man-to-man against your running back or it's one of the 2 corners who are off, just say automatic. Let's throw it out there. Tap your helmet, touch your stomach, whatever your call is, and throw it out there. That's your quick. From the inside guy, it's pop passes. If they're in zone, which a lot of times in the middle of the field, they'll be in zone. If they're in zone, the pop pass is simple. It is a button hook. It's a curl, whatever the hell you want to call it. You take 6 steps, bang, turn around, ball's in my hand. They've actually run that. You know who ran the hell out of it last week? Minnesota.
Yeah.
Minnesota
they did.
Abused Watson Trent on that play. There was a 3rd down on that 98-yard drive where they got him inside, and then there was another one on a 2nd down and 6, did the exact same thing. Nebraska, take advantage like Tom Osborne used to do. Copy somebody's plays from the week before.
Yeah.
You know, UCF. Let's go run what they ran.
Right.
Run some of the stuff Minnesota ran. Get the ball out quickly.
Participating sponsors of 1620, the pregame, are the Sedoro Law Group. Your outcome depends on what you do next. And by Blur Party. See how Blur makes every moment a party at blurevents.com. Not sure if they have any room for next week because there's going to be a packed week here with a night game and USC coming to town. But contact Stacy over there at Blur Parties, blurevents.com. See if maybe your corporate outing or small business or maybe just a group outing wants to do an event here at Blur. It is a fantastic time. Great food, all the drink you can possibly imagine. Great TVs up there. They do a lot of fun drinking games. I hear that the Iowa game is going to be lit here in just a few weeks.
I'm sure it will be definitely lit. Let me show you something. This is a picture I took on the way. Look at that tailgate.
Okay, 2 cases of Busch
Light,
a case of Ultra.
Mick Ultra, whatever
that looks like another case of Busch.
Light, some sort of light beer.
Yeah, it looks like
they got Tito's vodka.
They got the Tito's.
They got Crown Royal.
Fireball. And that looks like a big bottle of wine. That's a big-ass bottle of wine.
They are loaded at that tailgate.
Well, hopefully they will be using that responsibly, A, and B, mostly after the game. Yeah. Well, maybe not after the game, because if they use it after the game, it might mean that the Huskers lost.
That could be true, yes.
When we come back, we're going to take a look at some of the other games around college football. There's some intriguing matchups today. 3 more ranked games, ranked versus ranked, in the SEC, and what's happening around the rest of the country as well, as we are live here at the Blur Events tailgate at Memorial Stadium for 1620, the pregame, presented by Chandler Conway. Nebraska personal injury lawyers you can trust. John Bishop, Michael Severe, Nick Grimm here on site, Jake Janicek, our producer, back in Omaha, and we continue with more 1620 the pregame on 1620 the Zone and 1019 the Keg.
1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg are live from Lincoln. Now back to 1620 The Pregame.
Here to the Blur Events tailgate. And 1620 The Pregame brought to you by Chandler Conway, Nebraska Personal Injury Lawyers you can trust in Blur Parties. Learn more about all their events and future tailgates at blurevents.com. Man, it feels like every week we're saying it's another ranked-on-ranked matchup against the SEC.
Yeah.
And there are 3 ranked-on-ranked matchups, starting with Ole Miss and Oklahoma kicking off at the same time as our game here in Lincoln. And, of course, with Oklahoma, really for them, every game feels like a must-win only because the next game feels tougher.
Yes.
Here are Oklahoma's final 5 games. Tonight, or today, Ole Miss. Next week, number 17, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Next week, number 4, Alabama. Next week, number 15, Mizzou. And the final week, number 20, LSU. And Oklahoma, of course, has that one loss already on their slate.
Yeah.
So OU defending home field today against an Ole Miss team that's staggering just a little bit coming off of that loss. I think today it could be a real interesting strength versus strength matchup, especially when Ole Miss has the ball, because Trinidad Chambliss is actually a better quarterback when he's facing pressure than he is when he's got a clean pocket, according to Pro Football Focus. Also, he can run it. And OU has one of the highest pressure rates in all of college football.
But not with extra pressure.
Right.
They're doing it with just
a straight
3 or 4 man front. So that's why I like OU today. And I think it's up to 5.5. I was looking.
It was 5.5 yesterday, I remember.
So I think it's at 5.5. So the reason why I really like Oklahoma is because I think they'll stop the run. I think they're going to force Chambliss to be able to try to win the game with his arm. And I really think that Mateer is getting closer and closer to being healthy. And when he's healthy, that's when he runs. I think this week we're going to see him running again now that hand is healed up. And I think Oklahoma pulls away in this. I picked Ole Miss last week, but I like Oklahoma.
Well, Ole Miss did have a 9-point lead going into the fourth quarter,
and then completely outplayed.
And got outplayed, could not move the ball at all. Then at 2:30, Vandy, the team that beat LSU, stays at home, will take on number 15, Missouri. Vanderbilt in the college football playoff. It could happen.
See, you know how much I love Diego Pavia.
Yes.
He's an Albuquerque native. I like the kid a lot.
Is he a red chili or green chili?
I would say he's probably a Christmas. It's a little bit of both.
A little both.
But he love him. I don't think they win today. I really don't.
What is it about Missouri?
So there's a couple things, right? I think Missouri, their defense is designed to play against teams like Vandy.
Because they got good rush ends.
They got good rush ends and their corners tackle. And so I believe because of that, they're really good against outside zone. That's what Vandy runs a lot of. I think Missouri has the ability to beat them both on special teams and their tackling on defense. I look at the numbers. Everybody is on Vandy. It is an incredibly popular favorite today.
And they're only a 2.5-point favorite.
It's up to 3.
It is now up to 3, so it's hit 3. The key number.
They put it up to 3. I really believe that Missouri is going to take advantage. And again, I love Vandy. I'd love to see him in the college football playoff. I think Diego Pavia is the essential for what we need in college football. I'm so glad they passed these rules to give these guys more time so we could watch a guy like that play more. He's not going to play in the league. But here, he's perfect for college football.
Mizzou's got to run the ball better than they did last week. Yes. They only had 81 yards on 38 design carries, which is unusual for them because they've been so good at it.
Yep.
And Ahmad Hardy is a guy who breaks a lot of tackles. So Vandy's run defense, which isn't quite as good as Auburn's, is going to be tested today. And obviously, when you go on the road, you definitely want to establish the ground game. And then the third SEC game, which is ranked on ranked. It's kind of last stand for LSU if they entertain any playoff hopes whatsoever, going up against undefeated Texas A&M. And this is like a star-studded battle. Consider this, Texas A&M, offensively, they've been fine.
Yep.
Quarterback, great. Their 2 receivers, Craver and Concepcion.
Yeah, KC, baby.
Are 19th in the country among wideouts as a tandem in PFF. The only other duos that are top 20 in PFF grade are Ohio State's Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith and Indiana's Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper. So teams 1, 2, and 3 in this week's AP poll all have the same thing in common. Great tandems of wide receivers.
Do you have the most important number written down there?
Probably not, but what is it?
Do not. At what time the game's being played?
That game, it was being played. Well, I do. It's at 6:30.
And where is that played?
In Bayou Country.
It's played
at Tiger Stadium.
At Tiger Stadium at night. That's all you got to worry about. That's all you got to worry about. I didn't grow up an LSU fan. I'm glad when they do well, they're going to win this game. One, they weren't prepared for Marcel Reed last year.
Yeah.
And Marcel Reed in the second half went off. They're coming in design. Their rush defense is much better. The corners they brought in out of portal, much better tacklers. They'll be able to handle Marcel Reed and his run game. I know how good the pass offense is. They have great corners. The question is, can they run the ball against A&M, which is, it's susceptible a little bit to run. I don't know because they haven't run it. But if they can run a little bit, I think Nussmeier can take advantage of getting the deep ball because they have some really good, talented wide receivers there. A lot of speed. I think LSU wins this game outright.
And A&M's been kind of flirting with it. I mean, Arkansas took them to the brink. Notre Dame took them to the brink.
Yep.
And defensively, they're leaky.
They are.
So it's strength on strength with the great cover corners for A&M and the receivers we talked about for LSU. But on the other side, it's kind of weakness on weakness because A&M's defense has been a little leaky, and LSU offensively has not been as good as we had thought, though they still have Nussmeier, and he can make the throws if they need him.
I wrote LSU +3. They'll be ready for Marcel Reed.
Yeah.
The over, A&M, because of their tackling issues, that's why I did the over. And I like Casey Concepcion today, his over yards, catches, whatever you can get from him, because he's gonna be in the slot, and that's the one weakness LSU has pass defense.
This is the epitome of the modern college game when you have a 12-team playoff. But today's game between Illinois and Washington is an elimination game, really.
Yep, it is.
Illinois, we kind of established this earlier. Illinois, if they win today, the rest of their schedule, Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, Northwestern, very manageable. The path to 10-2 is there, and they have to be 10-2. A third loss is going to kill them because they really, today is their best chance for a quality win on the road at Washington. And consider these numbers when you talk about Washington and their great quarterback, Damon Williams. In their wins this year, he averages 8 yards a carry, and he's forced 23 missed tackles. But in the 2 losses to Ohio State and Michigan, he only has 10 rushes for 23 yards. He is the barometer for how Washington does. If he can run today against Illinois, they got a really good chance. But if Illinois can bottle him up, then the Illini have a chance to get one on the road and keep their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, and the question always when you're talking about Illinois is how much pressure can you get both from the outside and up the middle? Is as good of a runner at times as their quarterback can be. The fact that he can get out of the pocket and make some plays. At the same time, he takes a lot of sacks. We mentioned it. 23 sacks so far on the season. So I like the idea of Washington doing that. I know this. They're a different team. And if you look at their splits from home and away, Washington is so much of a better team at home. Yeah. They just really are. That crowd is great. Then the question is the time zone thing. Do you believe in it or not? Do you believe in Big Ten teams having to go more than going 2 time zones? Is that a difference? So I kind of like Washington. Obviously, I'm not an Illinois guy. I think Washington can win this outright. And I believe are you still getting 3.5? You're getting 3.5 you're giving 3.5 with Washington. I think they actually could cover that number.
And it is a mid-afternoon game. So
2 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock.
Yeah, 2 o'clock game. So at least it's not an early, not that it would be on the West Coast, but at least you have a little bit of time. You can save on that side. And there's a big game today in the Big 12 as well, because BYU now is tied with Cincinnati.
Yeah.
For first place in the Big 12 conference after Texas Tech lost last week at Arizona State. They go to Iowa State. Iowa State has been favored this week against BYU, who, by the way, if you have a ticket, BYU over 6.5 wins, congrats. You're cashing today before Halloween because they've already got 7.
Yeah, so this is a great matchup, and this is a great betting matchup. Because if you look at where the numbers are, last year, exact same time, BYU was sitting, again, at 7-0 and played a game against an unranked team in Virginia, and Virginia was favored. And BYU took care of business. But in general, when that happens over the course of the last 20 years, that ranked team has lost or at least failed to cover, if sometimes the other way. But I look at them and I say to myself, Iowa State has played so many close games.
Yeah.
And BYU has played so many close games. The ball has bounced away for BYU too many times. Utah last week twice in the red zone, fumbles. I think this week it's Iowa State. I like Iowa State in this game against BYU. I think the bounces finally go the other way. I think Iowa State makes plays. And I also believe Rocco Beck will take advantage of what can be a porous BYU defense at times.
What else does the severe investment calendar have this afternoon?
I like a couple of them. Arkansas, that 3.5. I think that's a really interesting game. I know Arkansas has been able to score ever since the switch over to Bobby Petrino as the head coach, so I kind of like that a little bit. The one I kind of like, and this is the purely letdown play, Arizona State, coming off of last week, playing against Houston. Houston's getting 7.5. I'm a big fan of Houston's head coach. I talk about it all the time. And also Arizona State's really banged up. They don't have their best wide receiver. And I think it's a letdown spot coming off of that big win last week. So I kind of like Houston plus 7.5 there. And the other one I liked, I mentioned LSU. Missouri I mentioned. Oklahoma I mentioned. South Carolina plus the 12.5. So one of the things that you notice about Beamer is that he's really good as a dog, especially double-digit dog. And DeBoer has now lost 4 times as a double-digit home dog. 4 times as a double-digit home favorite. As a home favorite. It took our good friend Nick Saban like 12 years to do that.
Yeah.
And he's done it 4 times already. And here's Beamer. 6-1 versus top 10 teams, covering by 16.5.
Wow.
And he's won those 6 outright.
And I do wonder if there's just a little bit of fatigue and potentially a letdown for Alabama, because they have played 4 straight games and won 4 straight games against ranked conference opponents. And South Carolina's coming in a wounded animal. This team had all kinds of high expectations. They were top 15 in the preseason. The season's collapsed on them. This is a perfect chance for Alabama to kind of, to a lesser degree, be like Nebraska was last week, read your headlines a little bit, feel a little fat and happy about yourself. That's not a bad take today.
Well, again,
because it could be a game. And Lenore Sellers, if he's on, can make you pay.
It's a letdown spot for Alabama, obviously.
Yeah.
You mentioned nobody else in college football has done what they've done.
Yeah.
4 ranked games in a row, what they've done. Nobody else had more than 3. And they've done this. And I also think that South Carolina, and with Beamer with his back against the wall, for whatever reason, he just always stems up and plays well. So, that's South Carolina was the other one I had on my list.
When we come back, we'll wrap up hour number 1. Coming up in hour number 2, we're going to look back at our Husker history mystery and also flip sides of the matchup when Northwestern has the football.
I'm sad that you didn't ask me for my FCS picks. Go ahead.
Well, I did open it up. Give me one good FCS today.
It's a big number, but see where Lehigh is right now. Minus 21.5 when it opened at like midnight. See where it is now, but up to 24.
Who are they playing?
I have no idea. But I'll tell you this: Lehigh's numbers show they should be favored by 30.
You asked me about your FCS picks. You don't even know who you're picking.
All I do is look at where you're ranked and where they're ranked.
What if they're playing the Saints?
Well, they're not playing the Saints. They're playing a team that there should be.
It's possible.
They should be favored by 30 based off of the points.
Okay.
But, if you get it at just 21.5 where it was, then you're doing really well. You're getting 8.5 points of value.
So take Lehigh minus 21.5.
Doesn't matter who they're playing.
Question mark.
Doesn't matter who they're playing. Doesn't matter.
There is no question mark. Who sponsors 1620 The Pregame is Chandler Conway, Nebraska personal injury lawyers you can trust, and Blur Parties. Learn more about their events and future tailgates at blurevents.com. We'll come back. We'll also look at Nebraska's record under Matt Rule based on the kickoff time. Because there's a lot of people that think, 11 o'clock, very sleepy. Well, we'll give you some data next on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg.
You can't run.
We've been waiting for you.
You can't hide.
Don't you want to play?
Because Scary Acres is back, and we're ready to make you scream. The Master's Castle, House on the Hill in the Haunted Woods. Scary Acres, Omaha's ultimate haunted attractions. 172nd and Giles.
Open now. Sponsored in part by Spare Time, Raising Cane's, Hy-Vee, Stereo West, Gandalfo's, and Blend.
Are you prepared to face your fears? $1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg are live from Lincoln. Now back to 1620 The Pregame.
Rocco's as tough as they come. He wants to play, so we'll go out and play as long as he can. I know he's handled it this week, so we'll just see how the game goes.
Yeah, what does that kind of say about him, though, that, I mean, he's even to that point and going through it?
Yeah, I mean, the fact, he broke his finger, ran off the field, tried to get him to adjust it back into his hand. Had to be taken to an emergency room to do it. Came back and was in the locker room and just saying, "Coach, I'm so sorry. You know what happened." He'd be more concerned about the game than anything else. He's a winner.
So Nebraska catches pardon the pun,
a break
that Rocco Spindler has practiced this week and sounds like he will give it a go. I have to imagine, Michael, he's just going to have a giant club on that hand to protect that finger, and it's going to be a pain tolerance issue for him.
They'll shoot it up, yeah.
And you mentioned earlier the big nose for Northwestern.
Bayonne, yeah.
Probably going to see him a lot today. What should we expect out of Spindler? I mean, what kind of effort can you get from him, assuming pain tolerance is good, but he's not going to have the use of his hand in the traditional sense?
Honestly, as an offensive lineman, you're not supposed to be grabbing anyway.
Not supposed to be.
So, no, he's a tough kid, and you can use it as a club, too. That helps as well. Two of the worst words in the English language are displaced fracture.
Yeah.
You know what's worse than that? An open displaced fracture.
Yes.
And that's what he had. You had the bone out of the skin.
I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah, you do know what that is. That's a very gross. When you're seeing white, that's the worst
thing. The good news is mine was on this side, so I couldn't see it.
The white is the worst thing. The blood is bad. When you see white, you're like, oh, that's not good at all. So that's what he's going to have a club, and he'll be able to use that club, and he's got his other hand. I don't know how good he'll be. I know they'll shoot it up.
Yeah.
He's not going to feel any pain. Okay?
Right.
Trust me, he's not going to feel any pain. He'll be fine. Now, as it goes along in a game, you can only give that shot once.
Right.
So I'm sure as the game goes along, he'll have more pain. The adrenaline will go. But he's a really tough kid.
Rocco, I'm sorry I left the house without my copy of Head Slap by Deacon Jones, but that might be a good piece of advice.
If you are an offensive lineman and you have played your whole life as an offensive lineman, you play with injuries.
Yeah.
They all do.
So for some reason, I just decided to look this up.
Okay.
And that is Nebraska's record by kickoff time under Matt Rule. Broke it down by year, but here are the totals. At home, this is only the fourth 11 a.m. home kickoff under Matt Rule.
Right.
Nebraska is 1-2. On the road, they've actually played double the games. Overall, though, they're just 3-6 when playing at 11 a.m. In prime time, a lot of people think, prime time is the right time. Well, they do have the best record by percentage in home games in prime time. They're 4-1. On the road, only 2-4. So overall, they're 6-5.
Yeah.
The actual best time overall
2:30
has been 2:30. They're 7-3 here in Lincoln.
Yeah.
They're 1-1 on the road total. of 8-4.
Are the 2:30 games have they all been against FCS opponents? No, I'm just joking.
There's been quite a few, actually.
So Houston Christian was at
11.
11.
That is the one home win at 11 a.m.
What was the Akron game?
Akron was evening. It was prime time.
That was prime time, right? Opening season, 6:30, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So just a little food for thought. And, of course, a lot of people will be looking forward to next week's primetime matchup against Southern California. That wraps it up for hour number 1 of 1620 The Pregame, brought to you by the Sedora Law Group. Your outcome depends on what you do next, and by Blur Parties. See how Blur makes every moment a party at blurevents.com. When we come back, we are going to go back 25 years, and I wonder if Dominic Raiola had something to say to his son this week about this week's opponent. We'll explain when 1620 The Pregame, presented by Chandler Conway, continues from the Blur Events tailgate in downtown Lincoln on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The K.
Embarrassed. They were pissed off. And more importantly, they reduced the Ohio State game down to like me versus him, right? And that's coming out of Michigan. We went Michigan State. It was like the guys had that mentality. In Maryland, they had that mentality. And, unfortunately, the creeping in of, That's why I don't like just saying like just the sacks. Like the game wasn't lost just because of the sacks. It was a 98-yard drive. It was just everything. So it's like everyone now, in my opinion, has to do what we did last year and reduce it down to like I've got to show up and play.
And that's what Matt Rule said they did last year against Ohio State.
Yeah.
Reduce it to me versus the guy in front of me. So back to the basics today for the Big Red as they take on Northwestern. Welcome back. Hour number 2 of 1620, the pregame. My name is John Bishop. His name is Michael Severe, or Brownie, as now he is affectionately known as.
Brownie.
By
Brownie,
some people
Brownie.
at
Without,
1620 the zone.
And I say this as a guy who's had 2 kids, but without nuts, please. Just a regular brownie.
You don't
Regular
like
brownie.
nuts?
I don't like nuts in my brownie. I don't
Why?
like my nuts in really anything that doesn't like. I like Milky Way, not Snickers. I'm not I like nuts. I eat them. I don't like them in other things. I don't know why. It just doesn't do it for me.
Okay.
I want my brownie without nuts. I want my caramel
Your
sundae
caramel?
without nuts. Save the nuts, McDonald's.
Sounds like a boring existence.
It's delicious.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's not delicious, but
delicious.
it is. 1620, the pregame presented by Chandler Conway, Nebraska personal injury lawyers you can trust, and Blur Parties. Learn more about their events and future tailgates at blurevents.com.
This is a big week for nuts. I don't know if you heard this.
No.
But so a couple years ago, they told parents to start introducing nuts to infants now. Remember how they
To
told
avoid
you
the
not
allergies?
To avoid the allergies. And over the last 2 years, peanut allergies have dropped off dramatically.
That's great.
And
Now I
because
can have peanuts on the plane again.
because of that, peanut sales, baby. If you had any stock in any peanut sales this week, went up. Good job.
Too bad. I hope.
Thank you, science.
I hope. Thank you, science. And I hope that the descendants of Jimmy Carter are taking advantage. He still had the peanut farm, didn't he?
He had to get rid of it. See, he actually had to divest himself really from his business when he became president. I know it's shocking, but he actually had to do it. Yes, he had to actually he had to get rid of all that stuff. It's crazy to think about.
Well, 25 years ago, Nebraska divested itself of what was for them a disappointing season. You got to remember the era Nebraska was in. 3 national championships in 4 years. The year prior, 1999, they were just a fumble away against Texas from playing for another national championship. And then in the year 2000, they came in preseason ranked number 1. Then they lost to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But then crawled their way back into the North Division race before giving up a late drive in the snow in Manhattan, Kansas. So Nebraska was a little salty going to the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio to begin with. And then they ran into a Northwestern team who was co-Big Ten champions in what was a down year for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
There were 3 teams that tied for first place. But Northwestern under Randy
Was
Walker.
Purdue one of them?
Yes.
With Drew Brees.
With Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Because he played in the Rose Bowl
That's
that
right.
year.
Yeah.
And that's why Northwestern got relegated, I guess, to the Alamo Bowl. But they were spicy, and they were good on offense.
They were.
They had a lot of points. They were one of the top passing teams in all of college football. And they weren't afraid to talk.
They were mouthy.
There was a confrontation in the streets of downtown San Antonio before the game between the players.
Also in the ballroom where they were having the dual team welcome
Function.
dinner. Yeah.
So that attitude of how Nebraska's season went and how Northwestern was acting got under the skin of the Big Red. And the tone was established early.
2nd down and 6 to go as Hasselbrook goes in motion to the right side. Crouch the snap. He'll run the option right side. Eric to the 50. Pitches the ball to Alexander. 45, 40, 35. Wills his way down to the 30-yard line. And he drove a Northwestern player right into the turf.
That was part of a bowl record, 240 yards rushing by Dan Alexander. But
that was Warren Swain, right?
That was Warren Swain.
Should have said he ran over that bitch. That's what Warren should have said. He just ran over that bitch.
Eric Crouch was one of many explosive plays that evening.
The option right side by Eric Crouch. He's going to keep it. He's to the 50. Eric to the 45, to the 40, 35, 30, 25, 15, 10, 5. He's gone. Touchdown.
Nebraska scored 31 points in the second quarter, took a 38-17 lead into the locker room. Nebraska was up 51-17 late in the third quarter when Frank Solich decided, I'm going to be the salt and you're going to be the wound.
31-yard line their own. 1st down and 10. Here's a swing pass out on the right flat to Bobby Newcomb. Wants to throw it. Davidson is behind everybody. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. 10, 5. Touchdown.
Yeah, they ran the flanker pass, and of course that wasn't any ordinary flanker. That was former starting quarterback Bobby Newcomb. But listen to the quotes after the game. Carlos Polk, who was never shy of saying anything, was asked if the Wildcats played like a high school team. Polk said, no, more like a middle school team. I didn't like the way they played. They brought cheap shots. They added fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
I mean, we're used to getting held, but they were throwing punches and grabbing face masks. Dominic Raiola, playing his last game at Nebraska before he got drafted by the Detroit Lions, said, these guys were disrespecting us all week. We wanted to shove it down their throats, and that's what we did. They tried to keep up, but they couldn't. I don't think they deserve to be Big Ten champions. I have no respect for them.
You think Dominic wishes that he played worse in that game so he got drafted by a different team than the Lions?
Well, if that's the case,
I mean, what a career.
If that's the case, then his son wouldn't have been Matthew Stafford's godson.
That doesn't help anybody.
What are you talking about? He's a Super Bowl champion.
What it does is, how many winning seasons?
Team.
How many winning seasons did Dominic have with the Lions?
I think it was 2 or 3.
Wow.
They went to the playoffs.
3 would
twice.
be crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think about it. The man had an incredible career playing for one of the worst franchises over the course of that stretch. But yes, I do love when a team talks a lot. And it's my good friend Ernie Ladd once said, don't come to the party like a cabbage. All head and no tail. They didn't bring no tail, baby.
I wanted to read this excerpt from the Daily Northwestern, the student newspaper.
Who wrote it?
The columnist was Leo Ebersole. He later wrote for the Chicago Tribune.
Okay.
But his column was titled Cheap Talk, Big Red Shows Its True Colors.
Nice.
Listen to what he said about Eric Crouch. And then think about it for just a second. If the Cats wanted to take a cheap shot, they might have said something about Nebraska quarterback Eric Crouch's physical education major. I hear Blomquist is hiring. What did Eric Crouch go on to do after his football playing career?
Well, he built a very successful business
selling
playground equipment.
Physical education.
Physical, yeah. Well,
he
not really,
used it, but he still used his
sure,
degree, right?
Yep.
So that was 25 years ago. Nebraska absolutely laid it to Northwestern, and it's interesting because that's the last time they played before joining the Big Ten and this becoming a semi-regular event.
Right.
Since that game, Nebraska, in their wins, they've got 3 multi-score wins over Northwestern. But every other game in the series has been a one-possession game. And Josh and I were talking about this yesterday. Think about the last handful of one-possession games. They won on a Hail Mary. They won coming from behind at Northwestern, and Northwestern had to miss a field goal for Nebraska to hold on. And the walk-on kicker, who they brought in just cold.
Oh, yeah. To make and it was a low kick.
And it was a low kick.
Yeah.
So the last 3 times Nebraska won a one-possession game against Northwestern, it was a nail-biter down to the finish.
Yeah, your nails will be fine today. Your nails will be fine. Don't worry about that.
Totally fine.
Nails will be fine. Now, you may want to bite your nails just because you bite your nails, but not because of this game. I don't believe that's the case. Listen, I know what Northwestern has done in the battle for NU. Yeah. I understand. They've won many more games than Nebraska ever would have thought. The 2012 win by Northwestern was absolutely devastating for Nebraska. That was a team that was on the verge of being top 10 and gave up back-to-back drives where Northwestern just ran the ball and abused you. I get that. Don't worry about that today.
Well, let's let Michael expand on that thought next when we talk about when Northwestern has the ball.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll do that next. Participating sponsors of 1620 The Pregame are the Sidoro Law Group. Your outcome depends on what you do next and by Blur Parties. See how Blur makes every moment a party at blurevents.com. If you are still on the interstate headed to Lincoln, starting to fill up now a little bit more like it usually does. It was a light start to the day in terms of just getting into the stadium and the people walking about, which is not unusual given it's an early kickoff and we're playing in October and it's a little cloudy today. Maybe some of the fans are a little ho-hum about this game. We'll see when the stadium gets full and if Nebraska can make a big play early.
We only have a few of these every year. We've got 2-3 of these. This one's already gone. So let's say 2 more left. And then we got to wait an entire offseason again. What are you ho-hum about?
They should give you the microphone before the game.
It's ridiculous. They should be out here happy and fired up that they have football. Remember 2020? Do you remember 2020?
I try not to remember.
I know 2020 was great.
I'm also not over Macho Grande. When we come back, we'll
over Macho Grande.
When we come back, when Northwestern has the ball, participating sponsors of 1620 the pregame, the Sedora Law Group. Your outcome depends on what you do next, and by Blur Parties. See how Blur makes every moment a party at blurevents.com. This is 1620 the pregame with John and Michael on 1620 the Zone and 1019 the Keg.
You can defend on defense. I'd like our defense to wreak havoc, to get sacks and to force fumbles and all these things. And I don't think we called the game that way. I think we were very vanilla in the way we called the game. And as a result, they got in rhythm. And guys had a chance to make, the guy runs a shallow cross into, we fooled him into cover 2 and runs a shallow cross. The guy should be just, smacked. Obviously, whenever when somebody get hurt, we run up, we dive at the ankles, the guy gets a first down. So it's like, it's just a little bit of everybody. But yeah, there are definitely a lot of good things in there too. Just the 98-yard drive, obviously, they can't, those things can't happen. Like you can't pin them down at the 2 and then allow that. So, but there's guys getting better. And, I hope you can see from my tone, it's like, that's what it was. It was just really, really bad, especially in the second half.
That was Matt Rule earlier this week, and John Butler then echoed those sentiments when he had his press session saying, it was that busted run in the first half that kind of put us and put me as a play caller in a shell, and I panicked, and I should have stayed with our aggressive defensive game plan.
Yeah.
Well, this week, Nebraska's defensive game plan should be fairly simple because what Northwestern does is fairly simple. They're going to run. Then they're going to run, and then they're going to run, and they're going to run it a lot. They've averaged well over north of 40 carries in Big Ten games.
There's only one team that has more carries in the Big Ten than
Northwestern.
No, it is.
Wow.
Whew. It's a team that has
Iowa.
2 good running backs and have a quarterback that runs a little bit too.
Iowa.
Indiana.
Really?
Indiana.
But they run a lot of plays.
They run a ton of plays.
Yeah.
And they run the ball a lot. So they do so many things well in their run game, but the thing that I just don't see them doing is running outside zone. And I had somebody tell me as I was walking up here, John Bodie, a friend of mine in the 50-mile march, says, well, they're going to do it today. And I said to him, I go, that's interesting because you just don't change the way you run the ball. If you are if you're an inside zone, if you're a gap scheme team, that's what you do. And that's what they do. They don't run outside zone. Nebraska struggles mightily in outside zone. In those other things, they're much better. So I would hope that Nebraska will be able to slow down the run game some.
Can you be an outside zone team when you don't necessarily run?
See, I don't think so. I don't think you can just all of a sudden in 1 week going, okay, we're running out. Because you got to think about what the offensive line has to do. It is completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking gap scheme, that's simply like I'm pushing this guy's out here, I'm pushing this guy's out here, and I'm making a gap to run it through. You're talking about inside zone. So you got 2 guys on this guy. I'm going to double this guy. I'm going to double this guy inside, and we're going to run the ball. When you're talking outside zone, you're getting everybody, a bunch of dancing bears moving out together. I don't know if you can just all of a sudden say we're going to run that. Well, the biggest problem that Northwestern's had this season now, and I like Preston Stone. I liked him a couple years ago. I thought he'd be a good pickup for a team like Northwestern because he is kind of mobile, taking some sacks. But if you look at his numbers overall, take the sacks out, he actually run the ball okay. The one concern about him is, I don't know why, he doesn't throw the ball outside the numbers well. Just does not. In their losses, he's thrown those interceptions. Obviously, the Tulane game was really bad. Watch the Purdue game. 3 times he threw the ball right to Purdue, and they dropped him. So it's going to be one of my keys is when he throws you a pick, intercept it. I really believe today you're going to see a pick 6 for Nebraska. He's going to throw one of those outside the numbers throws where it's not accurate, gets away from him, and one of those 2 cornerbacks is going to take it back for a touchdown.
One of the things Northwestern does do very well is after contact. They lead the conference in yards after contact. Yeah. It's over 4. To put into perspective, Indiana is second in the conference at just under 3.5 yards after contact. Ohio State is just barely over 3 yards after contact. In their game against Oregon, albeit a loss, they had 208 sack-adjusted yards. 162 came after contact. And if today, especially Komolafe, their top runner, who's the more physical of the 2, Hyman's the shiftier, the faster of the 2. Yeah. But if Komolafe is being able to push that pile an extra 2, 3, 4 yards, that's when you know Nebraska's in trouble. Yeah. But if they can swarm and tackle and take away those yards after contact, that takes away something that Northwestern does do at an, in the words of Matt Rule, elite level.
I can't say anything bad about their run game besides the fact that they run a different scheme than the one that hurts Nebraska. But you take their 2 top running backs and you watch them in Big Ten play, combining, they're running for like 150 yards between the 2 of them. And you mentioned one guy's physical, the other guy's speed. They even have a 3rd running back who has the longest play from scrimmage for them this year. So they sometimes late in the game, they'll actually go with the Thunder, Lightning, Real Lightning. That's their order they've been doing, and he's been getting a couple carries late in the game. That's Deshaun Reeder, who's also been doing that. The guy I like, though, I always find a guy I really like. Their freshman fullback, Robbie Preckle, 6'3", 230.
That both doesn't and does sound like a fullback name.
When Robbie comes in and he lines up, you know where the play is going. Wherever he's going, that's where the play is going. Very fun guy to watch. And the other guy that's fun to watch as well is a guy that they're tight end, Hunter Welsing. He came to Northwestern as a hockey player. You know this.
I didn't know they had hockey at Northwestern.
Out of high school. He was a high school player.
Okay.
So he was a high school player, played hockey, and then moved over to football. So he's tough. He doesn't have a huge 12 catches, 120, but he's got 2 touchdowns, and when he catches the ball, he will run you over.
Taking a look at some of the analytics. Again, we focus on quality drive rate.
Yeah.
Because both teams, Nebraska's defense, Northwestern's offense, are top 35 in the country in quality drive rate. In other words, they're getting first downs inside the opponent's 37-yard line. But finishing those drives has been difficult for both sides. Nebraska is 83rd in points per quality drive, averaging 3.8. but Northwestern is only 124th in points per quality drive. This is Nebraska-like levels from 2 years ago when they could not finish inside the 40-yard line. They're only averaging 2.5 points per quality drive. So Northwestern, they can move it, but they can't finish it. And you wonder if some of that is because they lean so much on the run and the quarterback doesn't throw the ball particularly well outside the numbers.
You know what's strange about them? When you have a bend but don't break defense and you don't give a lot of points, usually you go, okay, let me go check and see what they're doing turnover-wise. They're probably forcing turnovers. They're not.
Right.
They're -4 in Big Ten play. So they're not forcing turnovers, but somehow they're still getting stops in the red zone. That's because they're so good from the middle out. They're going to stop you if you try to run up the middle because they're so physical. That's what they do. I would not be surprised. I mentioned the pick six
possibility.
I mentioned that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see some trick type of plays when they get in the red zone, whether it be, a wide receiver pass or a running back pass or something to try to be able to score outside of the box what they normally do.
One guy to watch for in the passing game, and I literally say one, is Griffin Wilde. He is their junior wide receiver. He's the transfer. He played with Gronowski last year up at SDSU, right?
Yep.
He was at SDSU.
Yep.
Wilde has more than double the catches and double the targets of the next nearest Northwestern pass catcher. He's also got 4 touchdowns this year. He averages about 74 yards a game. I'm going to pose a question to you, Michael. All season long, we have seen Nebraska's best cover corner, Sierra Wright, play the slot corner, the nickel corner for this team because Hartzog has been out. Do you tempt with the idea?
Traveling.
Do you tempt with the idea of saying, Sierra, meet Griffin?
Travel.
And you have him today, and everybody else is going to have to get involved in the passing game because of the gross imbalance in targets and catches. Do you consider doing that, or do you stick with what you have done because it has led to one of the best pass defenses in the country?
Reinforcing what you said about Wilde, 516 total yards, right? The next 4 leading receivers have 506. So he has more yards than the next 4 leading receivers. I don't know. Is Sierra Wright an actual travel corner? Is he one of those guys where when you go to the league next year that he can actually travel? Because I don't know. Sometimes guys are really comfortable being boundary corners. Sometimes guys are really comfortable being field corners. I don't know if he's ever been a travel guy. This is a situation where I would do it. Wilde lines up all over the place. He lines up as a flanker. He lines up as both a slot and movement guy.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to say I'm going to put one guy. What I'd like to do with him is I would double him. I would force their quarterback, Preston Stone, to throw to anybody else.
Is it possible, though, to double him?
Yes.
Obviously in obvious passing situations, but because you expect Nebraska may come heavy today to stop the run, does that change things up if Northwestern surprises you?
That's even better. When he's in a slot, you're lining a linebacker over him, and the linebacker's getting contact on the way to the quarterback or the backfield.
Right.
Then you've got the safety or the corner who's guarding over the top. And so I watched the game that they had where they had a late drive where they ended up winning the game. And in that drive, they went to Wilde 4 times. If you're the defensive coordinator, you're like, he's not catching balls on us. I think at that point he had like 7 catches going into the drive. He's not catching balls on us. That's what Nebraska's got to say to themselves. We're not going to let this guy catch balls on us, especially late in the game if they need to drive. I'm shutting him down. And there are ways to do it, whether you put a linebacker or a safety over him and then have another guy, or you just simply double cover him. There's ways to slow a wide receiver down.
His least number of catches in a game was 3, but that was in the game against Louisiana Monroe. But he did have 64 yards receiving and a touchdown. So he's been averaging at least 4 catches a game. In the upset against Penn State, had 7 catches for 94 yards against that talented defense. So he's still getting his, even if teams are scheming to take him out.
But he's 9th in the Big Ten in both yards and receptions.
By the way, he'll be number 17 on the field today if you're watching on TV or inside the Stadium. And it is pronounced Wilde, W-I-L-D-E, even though it looks like wild with an E.
Right.
But Griffin Wilde will be worth watching here today. He's from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So you got to imagine he's going to have family here today.
Sure.
For this game. One other number I wanted to look at on this matchup when the Northwestern has the ball, I think it's going to be an interesting battle when it gets to third down because both these teams have been good at third and fourth down success rate. Northwestern is 37th, converting about 47% of their third and fourth downs. Nebraska defensively is top 20, and it's less than 33%. So how you're able to work on third down, and you expect that Northwestern, because of their ability to run, will theoretically have the option of running or passing on third down because they may face a lot of third and shorts today. That's going to be a true battle today. And then when you look at the havoc numbers, neither team is – Nebraska's not great at creating havoc.
No.
Northwestern's not good at stopping havoc.
Right.
You said it, pick six possibility. Can Nebraska's defense create some more havoc today like they did against Michigan State, for example, where it puts Northwestern either behind the sticks or creates a turnover and gives you a short field?
Well, if there's an offense that you should be able to get something against, it is obviously Northwestern. We mentioned their turnover deficit. They're actually really one of the worst in the Big Ten. And when they're constantly running the ball like that and you get stops, all of a sudden, not only they're in third down, but they're in 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 7. And Preston Stone will take chances. He's going to try to get the first down. He's going to try to get out of the field. He does a lot like Dylan Raiola does, where he'll get out and try to make a play opposed to running. And that's how you end up throwing a pick, because you look back and you throw into a guy coming across and you get a cutter of someone coming up from the other side. He gets an interception. The key to this game, and I know we've gone over a lot of stuff, but you're talking about a Nebraska team that no one is better in terms of scoring efficiency by special teams than Nebraska in the country. They're number 1. They're 4th overall in efficiency in special teams. They've made all their field goals. Their punter seems to have kind of gotten the groove of punting in college for the first time. I think overall that's the advantage they have. You look at the numbers, you'll say, well, Northwestern is giving up a lot of punt yards. They've had 3 punts that returned over 20 yards that were called back as a penalty. So they have
been
allowed
leaky,
them. They had a kickoff last week that was returned for 25 yards and another one that got called back from penalty. If Nebraska can just let Barney cook and not commit a penalty, I think they can actually do something in special teams, take advantage of the fact that they're number 1 in this one category.
Anything else on this side of the matchup that we haven't mentioned yet you wanted to get in? Because I know you got a lot of stuff.
Not really.
Okay.
It's mainly my biggest concern is slowing down Wieldy, making sure that you're not giving up the over 20 yards. When Nebraska is giving up that big play, run game,
which
big
they
play,
did last week, they gave up 3 of them against Minnesota.
And you look at the comparison in terms of big plays. The one thing that Northwestern has done good in the big plays is the fact that they have had long runs.
Yeah.
Right. Nebraska's only, I think, got 6 20+. But when you look at what they have what, 20? I think it's 20 long plays. That's for punt returns.
Oh, punt returns.
That's kickoff returns.
Yep.
That's special teams. But I just remember Nebraska only has, I believe, 6 total over 20 yards, and they had double the amount. So if you're concerned about one thing, it is that long run play.
Yeah.
And when Nebraska gives it up, that's when they have problems. So they've got to definitely fix that. Here it is right here. Long plays from scrimmage. Northwestern has 26 of them, and 11 of them are rush. Nebraska has 34 of them, but just 6 are rush. So Nebraska's got to make sure they're not giving up the long run plays.
Participating sponsors of 1620, the pregame, or the Sedora Law Group. Your outcome depends on what you do next. And by Blur Party, see how Blur makes every moment a party at blurevents.com. When we continue here live from Lincoln and the Blur Events tailgate, we're going to take a look at that offensive line question and the pass protection and the question about the Raiola family, because a lot of people think there's a hostage situation.
They're holding us hostage.
So we'll discuss that. We still have our keys to the game and our picks to click. Can we do better than we did for the Michigan State game?
Oh, hell yeah.
We'll have to, because I think we got shut out 2 weeks ago.
Damn, I can't believe that.
I think. We'll double check on that. But we're back with more Nebraska Northwestern today at 11 o'clock. And don't forget, Big Red Overreaction follows the game today with Josh and Matt. Hopefully Josh doesn't have any kind of new nickname for Matt McMaster that is offensive or hurtful. But if it is, they can call Chandler Conway, Nebraska personal injury lawyers you can trust. Back to Lincoln after this on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The K. The Nebraska Alumni Marching Band coming in, as they always do to the Blur Events tailgate here in downtown Lincoln. It's always a highlight. It's the one thing that gets people out of their seats except for the drinking games.
It's very true. It's very
and
true.
there hasn't been as many drinking games today, at least not
Just
yet.
one so far.
Just one so far.
And it was at 10 o'clock in the morning.
And because, they try to match it up so it's Northwestern or the opponent fans versus Nebraska fans. But I still haven't seen my first Northwestern fan today.
I have not either.
And usually you see a few because they like to encourage. They actually invite the fans from the other team to come in here and join the Blur Events tailgate because they want to show a little Nebraska nice, a little,
it's not a bad drive. I mean, the sucky part about it is at 11 o'clock game, you've got to come the night before.
Oh, absolutely.
You got to get a hotel room.
If you're leaving Chicago on Saturday, you better leave at like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to make it
No,
here
you're
in
not
time.
going to make it,
Yeah. So welcome back here to the Blur Events tailgate. John Bishop, Michael Severe. The topic du jour this week has been the pass protection. And why not? A school record allowed 9 sacks, which would be, it's bad anyway, but the fact that it also follows up a 5-sack game by Michigan State, a 7-sack game by Michigan. Nebraska's already given up 25 sacks or 26 sacks. 27 sacks.
Keep going. 27,
28, 29 in Big Ten play. It's 24 sacks in Big Ten play.
Right.
If they give up 3 more sacks the rest of the season, it will be more than they gave up all of last year per game. And earlier this week, Matt Rule was asked, where are the sacks coming from?
Running back, some are balls. I mean, it's just all around. Balls got to get out faster. We've got to protect better. Backs have to step up and win the one-on-one. But we're not going to walk away from that. I mean, if you're an offensive lineman, you can't give up 9 sacks. So.
And, of course, Nebraska was facing a situation where they were down 2 offensive linemen in the second half with Spindler's injury and the ejection by Elijah Pritchett.
Yeah.
But by that point, they'd already given up 3 or 4 sacks by the time Rocco left the game. Yeah. And by the time Spindler left the game, I think the number was up to 5. Yeah. So it really didn't matter what the combination was out there. I think one of the biggest issues Nebraska had against Michigan was it was off the edges. It was on the tackles. It was
a first-round draft pick coming after him.
It was. But I think there was an element of, we're not going to do that again because we're not going to see outside edge rushers like that again. But the problem was Michigan State did it and Minnesota did it. And so,
But not Maryland.
But why?
They ran the ball.
Because they ran the ball and they got the ball out quicker.
And they got it. Running the ball is the key thing to all of this. I don't understand. I've said this 100 times, and this is the last time I'll say it for this one. I don't understand the game plan against Minnesota from the first drive. In my mind, I was thinking, okay, you're going to Emmett. Emmett's fired up. Let's get the ball to Emmett, get started, get the lather going, and you don't go to him in the first drive. It still boggles the mind. So then you move on, and you look at the times that on first down, they ran the ball. And they're averaging like 5 yards a carry. But they only ran the ball on second down like twice. What are you doing? If you're running the ball that well on first down, you can't run it on second? You can't run it on third down? I don't understand that. I never understand that. So let's move past a horrible game plan, and hopefully Holgorsen understands what he has to do against this team, what he has to do with his run game, what you got to do with Emmett. And as we've talked about, Ja'Cory Barney, he's had 1 rush this season against Michigan. They only threw 4 screens last week against all that pressure. 4 of them. None of the screens were to him. I don't understand that. Get the ball to Ja'Cory Barney as well.
But what do you do about the 5 guys up front? And that's been a lot of the focus this week. The anger, the ire has been on the offensive line and their coach, who just so happens to be the uncle of the starting quarterback. And there's been a lot of noise this week about Uncle Don not being the answer, and it's time to make a change. Maybe not today, but at the end of the season. How much can Nebraska do as an offensive line? Because they are the first line of defense as far as protecting the passer. Can anything be done significant for the rest of the season?
So I'm going to disagree with you in a little bit. The first line of defense in protecting the passer is the guy who's the passer. He's the first line defense. He's the one that's making sure protection is set along with the center. He's also making sure he knows where his hot guy is. He's also making sure he knows where the free runner might be coming from. That's all on him. He's got to do all that with his mind before the snap. Then the next thing is, of course, the overall protection. The 5 offensive linemen, if a linebacker, if a tight end is involved, if the running back's in protection, all of that together needs to work. But the third part of that is play calling and making sure that they're running plays to protect their weak link. And their weak link are those 2 tackles, Pritchard occasionally just not losing concentration, and then also Gunnar Gatula, who has struggled. He really has at the right tackle spot. What they have to do better is, first of all, Dylan's got to know what he's doing before it's happening. He's got to make the adjustments. He's got to know where his hot is. They've got to run routes that allow him to have a hot. And then they also need to make sure that those guys just play better from the inside out. I know people talk a lot about the tackles, but if you're good from the inside out and the farthest guy away is the guy that's going to be challenging you, that allows your quarterback to step up in the pocket and make plays.
And on that note, and not a lot of people have talked about the changeover from Ben Scott last year to Tyler Evans or to Justin Evans this year. Yeah. And while no one has really had a lot of harsh things to say about Justin Evans, I bring this question up because it was brought up to me yesterday. The center also has a key role in terms of line protection,
big time.
In terms of calling things out. We've not really heard anything about any issues there, but you do wonder if maybe some of it, too, might be a communication issue on the line from inside out.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's on Justin Evans as much as – so some of the communication is nonverbal. Okay, so here's a great example. Tyler Kanak is in the game, and Tyler Kanak's job is always protect inside out. If I got somebody inside of me and he's coming, I got to make sure I get that guy. If he's outside of me, that's going to be more on the quarterback. That's more on my offensive tackle. Well, what he does is he ends up sliding over and doubles the guy that the tackle is blocking. Justin Evans is handled. He's got a guy over him. Well, what does that do? That opens up a huge space in the middle. That's communication. And part of that was nonverbal. He's got to know, and by the way, he hadn't played next to him, but he's got to know through experience, I know what my tackle is going to do. I know what my center is going to do. I know what I'm going to do. On that play, I don't think he knew what he was supposed to do. Part of that is not playing that position in the game, and I don't know how much he played it in practice. And another part of that is the offensive line in general was a mess as the game went on.
We'll end on this note. You mentioned it on your show last week, Severe Reaction, every morning, Sunday morning after a game weekend at 8 a.m. The idea of the Raiola family holding Nebraska hostage and the question of Donovan Raiola. You've been a guy that says this does not fall necessarily on Donovan Raiola.
No, so first of all, let me tell you this. I know for a fact that there's been times where uncle had to tell nephew, you need to get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
And at times that hasn't been the greatest. It's not good to work with family, period. I don't care who it is. It's your wife. It's your brother. It's not good to work with family because feelings get hurt.
Sure.
And so there's a real tension among the family, I think, in the production of what Raiola's doing, both as the quarterback and as the offensive line coach. And that is an issue. They've got to squash all that. They've got to just understand that without one, the other can't prosper. Without the other can't prosper. And they've got to figure that out. I don't think it's all on Donovan. I think Donovan has shown some good development from his guy. I think Justin Evans having to move from guard to center. I think he's done a really good job in that, and that's part of your coach. I think putting Gunnar Gatula in there last year as the left damn tackle, your third tackle, and him playing pretty well. That needs to give some props to Raiola. I think other guys who've gotten better, the same thing. Look how Lutovsky has developed. So I don't think it's all on him, but he's got to make sure his guys communicate, and that is on him.
And the other thing about it, too, and we haven't really mentioned Pat Stewart yet.
Nice. Way to go.
$500,000 kick.
Little dude.
Dude in the Pavia jersey and the purple shorts.
He was trained by, remember the lady who kicked for Vanderbilt? She was out there working with him. Yeah, that was awesome.
McAfee kick was worth $500,000, and the kid nailed it.
Good for him.
I lost my train of thought. It really
I'm sorry.
It really doesn't matter anyway because we're going to come back. We got our keys to the game.
Oh yeah.
We're going to look at our picks to click and wrap things up here live from Lincoln. Presenting sponsors of 1620 The Pregame are the Sedoro Law Group. Your outcome depends on what you do next, and by Blur Parties. See how Blur makes every moment a party at blurevents.com. We are less than an hour from kickoff between Nebraska and Northwestern. Back for a final segment from the Blur Events tailgate on 1620 The Pregame and 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg.
Sixteen twenty The Zone and 101.9 The Keg are live from Lincoln. Now back to 1620 The Pregame.
Update from the official availability report. Gunnar Gatula is under the questionable category for today's game. That's something that is new on this list. Gunnar Gatula questionable. Now, that does not mean he won't play.
Right.
It just means he is questionable. So, yes, we could see a little more Ted Prohaska this afternoon.
Yeah, or maybe even Kanak, who originally was thought to be a tackle. Maybe he's over there as a tackle.
All right, time for our keys to the game presented by Chandler Conway, Nebraska Personal Injury Warriors you can trust. What are your keys to the game?
Number one, John.
Number one.
And if you don't like people using war metaphors for sports, screw you, I'm sorry. You've got to fix the damn bayonets. That's what you do. When you run out of ammunition, when you can't have any bullets left, you take a big-ass knife and you hook it to the end of your weapon and you go out and you put what in the grass? Blood. You ask the question, drill sergeant, what makes the green grass grow? Blood makes the green grass grow. You go out there and you fix bayonets because your back is against the wall and you punch somebody in the damn face. I'm tired of all of this finesse and vanilla. Go out there and punch somebody in the face, fix bayonets, your back's against the wall, you're out of ammunition. Number 2, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Missy Elliott, together. The song they had was Give It Away, Give It Away, Give It Away.
Give it away now.
Nebraska, Missy Elliott said, I'm going to put my thing down, I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to reverse it. You got to take it away. You got to take it away. I've already said it. I see an interception happening, maybe a pick 6. Preston Stone, we know he can throw picks. He's got a turnover-worthy rate, by my judgment, in the 2 games I watched, of 5. He had 5 passes that should have been picked that weren't picked, turnover-worthy plays. He has had 6 interceptions in their losses. 5 of them was in 1 game. So, yeah, got to get some picks. Take it away. Time to do that. And number 3 for me, because I only do 3, I'm bringing back the key from last week. I love you.
You love
me.
You
love me. It's a Barney kind of day, people. Get the ball to Barney. I bet his over catches. I bet his over yards. Maybe even a touchdown. Maybe even a punt return. Barney. Your engine, you know cars. Engine works great if every part of it's working. You take one part out of it, the engine doesn't work so well. The piston in this engine is Ja'Cory Barney. Get that man the ball.
My quick keys, no Dana disaster. Got to be better play calling. Get the ball out of Dylan's hands faster and echo some of the things Michael said about Barney. Jam the run and tame the Wildy.
You go.
Wildy is going to be their number 1 target today for Preston Stone. I think Nebraska's going to come heavy today in terms of stopping the run, but you've got to be able to do both. Swarm to the ball with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, if Jim Harbaugh were saying it, because of that yards after contact.
Yes.
Got to swarm to the ball, get the ball carried to the ground, and get ready to fight. You're going to have to win a football game today to beat Northwestern because they play big man football. They run the ball, and they're going to try to be physical with you. You've got to do their game better than you.
Yeah.
That's how you get them out of doing what they do
In
better.
other words, fix the damn bayonets.
Fix the damn bayonets. Like I said, our picks to click did not go well 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Makai Frazier, Dane Key, Dason McCullough. Key never even got a target.
No, he didn't.
I had Barney. Might have gotten that if that punt return had counted. Archie Wilson, he had a bad day. Omari Kelly. Real quick, your picks to click today.
Hunan in first.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna double down and go Barney.
Okay, so Sierra right,
Right.
and then you.
Oh, yeah. I guess we are going back and forth. Let's go with. You know what? Let's go inside with Judy.
I'm gonna go Emmett Johnson.
Emmett Johnson. Wow, I can't believe he went that deep. My final pick to click today will be Dane Key.
Oh, good. Yep, I'm going to have it.
And there we go. Picks to click. Want to thank Jake Janicek, our producer back in Omaha. Nick Grimm producing on site. Don't forget, Big Red Overreaction comes up tonight right after the game. And then after that, it's Creighton basketball.
Whee!
I'll talk to you later. 1620 the pregame with John Bishop, Michael Severe. So long, everybody.